in. Can she sign in?
Who?
Mary Hawkins.
Yeah, she can sign in.
Okay.
Anybody can. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, starting the first meeting of the year. As always, if you would just take a second and put your cell phone on silent, and I appreciate it. And we will start by opening a word of prayer, and then Will lead us in the pledge. So, Dwayne, you have the prayer for us. If we would, let's all stand for it.
Y'all pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning, God, on the beginning of a new year. God, we first of all want to thank you for watching over us and guiding us through this past year, God, with all the ups and downs. We know that you were still always there for us, God, and I just ask you to be with us here in this meeting this morning, God, that everything that's done here this morning will be pleasing to you in accordance with your will. Just forgive us where we fail you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Will? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Dwayne and Will. At this point, we have agreed last year to rotate the board presidency. So at this point, I will resign as board presidency, and the vice president at this point will take charge.
Okay, Gerald. We need to entertain a motion then for president for this upcoming year.
Motion.
I make a motion to appoint Carl Banks as president.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. How do we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. I'd also like to make a motion that we appoint Paul Griffin as the vice president in case take care of things when I can't be.
Okay.
Can I get a
Motion.
second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. I think the first order of business is going to be the approval of the board minutes.
Yes, Mr. President, you should have before you the December 21st board minutes. I would ask if there are no changes of any kind. Board, please approve said board minutes.
Okay. Did we get a motion on the
for
board?
approval?
Okay, is that second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have any concerned citizens?
No, sir. No one has registered to speak as a concerned citizen.
Hey, Shelton, I think Mary Hawkins is out there because she texted me and said she wants to speak.
Okay, does she want to speak as a concerned citizen or as part of one of the agenda items?
I do not know the answer to that.
I will find out.
Okay. Do you have garbage can?
Okay.
I usually do. You want me to move it so it's? No. That's fine. My thing is charging.
Mr. President, the city representatives indicate that the mayor is not on the floor, so there are no concerned citizens registered.
Well, let's move forward. We can have consent items. Okay. Under the supervisors, we have Supervisor District 4, Carl Banks. I wanted to make a motion to make a change in the attorney for the Planning Commission. And I have to do is the person I want to make that motion, to make that change, to be the attorney for our Planning Commission. He has the experience, and I'd like to see him back in this role that he's had before.
I have a
Second the motion.
I have a question.
Question?
Will his rate be the same as Leah's?
Same.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you've had his contract, attorney?
Yes, sir. I've seen the
You seen it?
contract and gave it to the administrator, it's the same rate as,
Yeah, so there's no
Former.
change in money. We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
no.
Mr. President, I would like to ask Shelton, because we voted on the contract. I did not see it on the agenda. Do you have it?
I do have a copy. I do have a copy of the contract. Yes,
And,
sir.
and what is the, what does it say? I mean, is it, I mean, as far as the dollar amount? I know you said it was the same. I just don't know what, or can you get it during the board meeting?
I will bring you a copy of the contract in just a few minutes.
Yeah, anytime something like this is on, if you will, let's have it on the agenda, if you don't mind it, for everybody.
Yes, sir.
To see.
Mr.
Thank you.
President, what was the count on that vote? Was it 3-2?
3-2.
3-2.
Okay, next, business items. Okay. Oh, okay.
Happy holidays, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Gerald Collier, and I'm here on behalf of representing McCarroll's Worship Center. They're requesting tax exempt status. McCarroll's Worship Center is a church here in Madison County, formed in 2009. They purchased a property on 528 Hart Road in Canton back in May 2018. And we're requesting tax exempt status for our properties. They are a church, and church in the county.
I have a couple questions. Is it one piece of property or several pieces of property?
We have a vacant lot. We have two pieces of property. One is located at 528 Hart Road, and then we have another piece of property located in Canton. It's located tell you right here.
So you the pastor of the church?
No, I'm not the pastor. The Reverend Leon Collier is the pastor. I'm coming as counsel.
Okay.
But we have two pieces of property in
Are they
Canton.
501, are both of them 501c3?
One is a vacant lot, and the other one is just a general church.
I bet your church has a 501c3, but I don't know that for sure. Most churches do. The piece of property doesn't. 501c3 is like the magic IRS.
Tax exemption.
But under state and federal laws, you can request 501c3 status.
Right, you
Some people
can.
use it for fundraising. The law doesn't require you to request 501c3 status. Churches by federal and state law are automatically exempt from taxes.
Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, that's it. That's correct. That's correct. But it's got to be used for church purposes. You know, just because you own property
I agree.
doesn't mean anything. Property's got to be used for religious purposes.
Yeah.
Because a church could use property for profitable purposes. So we don't know what the use is.
Use of the property.
So 528 Hart Road, we conduct Sunday school and church services every Sunday
At the church.
at the church.
All right, and the other piece of property joins that piece of property?
It does not. It does not join that piece of property, and somebody donated it to the church, and it's not in use, and we may use it. We're only going to use it for church purposes if we keep it.
Yeah.
And that's the only function of McCarroll's Worship Center is a church. We don't. It does not conduct any other businesses other than church business.
Okay.
Sunday school, worship service, prayer meeting on Wednesdays. That's all we do, and we have mission work, and so.
Yeah. Well, I'm familiar with y'all church at that. I just wish Reverend Collier had called me and let me know that you all were coming. Is that property, what you talking about, is it close to where the church is, or where is it?
If you go down 22, past the old stockyard, I think one of the constables live next to the constable's house. It's just a vacant lot.
Oh, okay. So the property you all have is
520
next
Hart
to
Road.
Johnny Sims' house there, that vacant lot over there.
That's correct, Count.
Somebody just donated it to the church.
Yes.
And it has no use per se right now, other than the fact that it was just donated to the church.
That's right.
And the church don't, have any other plans.
If we use it, any use would be for church purposes. We
Right.
don't conduct any other business other than church. We don't have any other non-related church business. We do worship services on Sunday, Sunday school, and prayer meetings on Wednesday. And obviously we have outreach ministries, but just church.
Sound like a church is in my district, and the property you talking about is in your
The property is
district.
actually in District 4, and the church is in District 5. The question that we have, and we have to deal with and wrangle with, is it permissible for us to allow this church, this to be not a tax exempt piece of property that does not, we can't tie down an actual church function use.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I see it is, we're a church. We're a tax exempt entity, and the property at 520 Hart Road, I think we all in agreement. It's only used for church purposes.
Yeah.
The other property that's
We don't
located.
know that. We don't know what you just said.
I can vouch for what it.
The Hard Road property
Okay.
Hard Road
Okay.
property.
is what he was saying.
It's
We
just
okay? We in
church.
agreement with that, right?
Yeah.
I am not. And I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm not only looking for this piece of property, but there are others that come in front of us. Basically, I think this board needs to see a letter from the church, whether it's from the pastor or from the deacons, stating exactly what you're telling us. What you're
Macaro's
exactly telling us is that both of those properties are used for church purposes.
Okay.
I mean, we need that on file.
Right.
With their IRS 501c3 number as well. It'd be good to do that.
McCarroll's Worship Center is a church that's been functioning as a church since 2009. Reverend Carter is known throughout Mississippi, state of Mississippi, retired Methodist preacher, and so I don't. That's fine, but we're a church. It was the property we purchased. We purchased it from a church. It's always been a church.
Yeah, I'm really not, disagreeing with you much. We need something on file to really saying exactly what you're telling us.
Can we just, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone to the next meeting, and you work with our council, Mike Espy, on getting, what Gerald just said, and we can, come back next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion.
I asked you to amend your motion
Okay.
before I can make a statement.
Okay, go
on
ahead.
this.
Yeah.
It's not against you. We need a uniform, standardized process for this, and it's coming up now every meeting. It came up every meeting under the former lawyer. So the tax assessor has a form, and he worked on it with the former lawyer. I've looked at it. To me, it's very long, it's very complicated.
Yes, that's key.
Complicated for a church. So what I'd like to do is work with the tax assessor to shorten the form and make it more appropriate for churches
Yeah.
to fulfill, and for you to consider what we will have this controversy.
That's good.
So if you could amend your motion, and I promise you, it'll be ready before you at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's my amended motion, right?
May I make one other statement? Yeah, just for purposes for the board, unless a property, and this may help out, churches are automatically tax exempt. That's just federal and state law.
Right.
You can't tax a church. Now, if a church is using a property for non-church purposes, you can tax them.
Right.
We're not using anything for non-church purposes. There's no evidence that that's that's happening. So, we'll be happy to provide, the Board of Supervisors whatever information that they need. But I just wanted to make sure you know that by law, federal and state law, churches are not, they automatically tax exempt.
And you're correct. We just need something to put down, to put it in our minutes, as, you know, with what you have told us.
That's correct. We had a motion. I'll second the motion. All in favor of the motion?
What's the motion?
The motion is to allow the attorney to go ahead and get with the tax assessor, streamline our process, and be able to get with the church and let them just fill out the form
And bring it back.
and bring it back. That makes it a lot easier. Okay. It
That
so.
was my motion.
Oh, and I seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the motion has been approved. Sir, the confusion too was bringing up, you know, where your church is on Hart, and it had me thinking, and all of us kind of looking at the property being on Hart, and then you bring up a piece of property on over on that Old Jackson Road or whatever.
Just to make sure I'm clear, or
You hadn't been
do
turned down.
we have to provide information to get tax-free status of our church?
No, not at all.
Do we get that?
Of the
now?
other piece of property that you can't provide a use for. You have a
Right,
you
I
have a
understand.
you have a piece of property that is not used for a church, that you have not been able to tell us what it's going to be used for, and we the only way the church gets tax-free status is for church use property. There are churches that own apartment complexes for profit, and it feeds the church money. You know, there are churches that own grocery store. So we have to make sure when we give taxes, exemptions to churches, that we're giving it to the church for the right reason. That's all.
Oh, yeah, well, I agree with the property that's not connected to the church, but I was just trying to make sure I'm understanding. Our church, we get tax-free
You're
status for
fine.
the church property? That's not, we're not in
We're
disagreement
not
with
talking about that.
Right, okay, only for the extra property,
You were talking about the lot.
additional property?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
That'll work. Okay, then. Thank you, sir. Okay. Albert,
Good morning, Board. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Line item 24, I'm asking that we discontinue the E911 declaration. I spoke with the city of Canton, Madison, Ridgeland, as well as the sheriff department, and everybody say the performance of the new equipment is working fine. And I spoke with the engineer, and everything on their end is working good. So I'm asking that we close the declaration for the E911.
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Albert.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, while Tim Bryan is coming up, I've got the contract that Mr. Steen asked for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 2, I believe, has the rate.
Thank you.
Do you want to acknowledge a copy of this?
Can we get a motion to acknowledge a copy of that? Put it on the
Motion to
record.
acknowledge.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. Tim?
Morning.
Morning.
First item I have is for Sulphur Springs Park. It is a requirement by MDQ to do an H&H, or a hydraulic study for the dam every 4 years, or 5 years, excuse me. They have I don't know, for some reason, we didn't do one, or it wasn't required in 2016. We received a letter here recently. They did a file audit, and they want one done. So I've asked that this one be considered for our next year engineering analysis as well. So this is going to cover us for this 5 years plus the next 5 years. So what I'm requesting is that a contract for Michael Baker for a fee not to extend or exceed $25,000 be awarded for an H&H study for Sulphur Springs Dam.
All for that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. Second item.
I do have a question on that, Mr. President. You say 25,000. Do we have to go out for bid on that or anything?
No, with the engineering services, it's qualification based, so
Okay.
we don't go out for bid on those.
Good deal. Thank you.
All right, next item I have is a engineering contract with Mendrop Engineering. As you'll recall, they determined the right-of-way for us on DeWeese Road. Now we're asking them to survey it and do a profile so that we can cut our ditches. So once we get that profile done, we'll be able to go out there and do actual grading, drainage, and all of that stuff. So asking for permission for the board to approve a fee of not to exceed $11,500 for Mendrop Engineering.
Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Mr. President, again, on discussion on the DeWeese Road, once you do that, are we planning on widening that road a
We are.
foot or
We're going to
two?
widen it to 20 feet.
To 20 feet. How wide is it now?
I think it's 18 right now.
Okay, so a couple feet then. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, next item I had is contract with Integrated Right-of-Way to perform right-of-way services for Simpson Road Bridge for a fee not to exceed $3,900.
I make the motion to approve it.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, I got a point.
Second.
Okay, now we got a conversation.
Yeah, Tim, on Simpson Road Bridge, can you tell me which bridge that is? I know you go down Simpson Road. It's
Ooh,
a
I may
great
have to
road.
get John in here. Hopefully John McKee's right out there. McKee with Stan Tech. Or
As long as it ain't the bridge they trying to go across Love Creek.
across Switch Creek,
Love Creek. Ain't that the name of it, Will?
Loves Creek. I'm not sure. I'll have. Location of Simpson Road Bridge that we're doing. You remember where that is?
I can't tell you exactly where that is.
It ain't
I can find out. I'll let you know here in a few minutes.
We'll check in a few minutes and get back.
Okay, I have no problem with it. Whatever bridge it is, as long as it ain't the one that going covering Love Creek.
Okay, I'll check on that and let you know.
I'll get back with the exact location in just a minute.
Okay, I was intending to call you last week, Tim, but it slipped my mind.
Okay.
All right.
All right, I'll find out.
Thanks, John.
Okay, there was a motion and a second, but it hadn't been voted yet. You want to vote it or you want to hold it?
Yeah, you can go with it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right, last item I have is a contract with Integrated Right-of-Way to perform the right-of-way services associated with Reunion Phase 2. This will be for a fee not to exceed $41,400.
Motion.
Is there a motion? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, sure.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's been approved.
Okay, all right. Sorry. I'll let you know.
Yeah, before you go,
Who's second?
update on Way Road flooding here.
I'm about to advertise for construction. I'm going to advertise for construction probably this week, early next week.
Sound great.
I guess
Right.
I don't
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tim.
But I don't know who made the second.
Second.
Okay.
This is on what?
And Trey.
Mr. President, Board of Supervisors, good morning.
Morning.
First item I have is MIPA2. This is a rezoning on the 86.67 acres from R3 high-density residential to R1A Single Family Residential and 73.72 acres from R3 High Density Residential to R1B Moderate Density Residential. It's located behind Newcastle Subdivision and Annandale. Property is currently zoned R3, and they have a conceptual development plan included since Supervisor District 2. This was approved by the Planning Commission on 11/12 of 20. And I do have parties from City of Madison and Mipatu here to speak on this.
Okay. Who you gonna start with first?
Mr. President, I can go first.
Go first.
I represent MIPI2,
Okay.
and I've got some boards that I was going to put up. I think these graphics will help the board members kind of see where the property is situated and where the roads are going to be and how the roads are going to be impacted.
Can't see too good. Can you move that a little closer?
A lot closer.
Especially glasses fogging up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you can all probably hear me now better. Here's the property. Currently, Annandale is located here. This is the tract. Annandale is located here. This is currently all zoned. It's 160.39 acres, R3, high-density multifamily. The applicant wants to have it rezoned. The top half, R1A, low-density, single-family. The bottom half, R1B, still low-density, or medium-density, single-family. There will be a road cut through here for trucks, and off of Gus Green Road, which you can see here, there will be a cut through so that the traffic on 463 should be minimal. There will be two access roads. Phases, the north half first. Once that's done, when I say phases, I mean over years. Once that's done, the bottom half will be phased in, and that will take years. So this is not a 6-month project. This entire project could take 3 to 5 years.
I got a couple of questions for you just to dispel some rumors. What product are y'all gonna build the streets out of? Is it gonna be pavement? Blacktop?
He wants to know what product that the roads are going to be made of, pavement or asphalt.
That should be determined. I mean, that's something when you submit a plat. This is Peter.
Can you approach the microphone over there, please?
I'll stand up here. I'm Tom Bobbitt. I'm a land planner, landscape architect.
Okay.
That's really Peter's decision. There's been some discussion about it. He has considered concrete. He's considering asphalt. I think that's an engineering issue when he gets to that point.
Is gravel being discussed?
No. Good grief, no. No.
All right. What about your construction entrance? I know there was some discussion about using the old Annandale construction entrance.
No. That's never been discussed.
Oh, all right.
And Mr. Baxter, just here are some kind of samples of what some of the homes are going to look like.
I rode the whole neighborhood. Yeah, I rode the whole neighborhood at Newcastle and took pictures myself.
I'm holding it because I don't think it's going to stay. Well, I guess it will stay.
Well, he brought up the construction road. On this one, you showing a construction road coming off Robson Springs Road, but it's not the same construction road that was used to develop Annandale. I believe that's correct. It's at another location on Robinson Springs Road. Yes, sir. And then a construction road off of Gus Green, which is one that I'm most concerned about because Gus, that road can't hold a lot of truck traffic. So it certainly have concerns that it would be used as a construction road, but splitting it like that, it may, and of course with we get something from Mr. DeBucula on that road, bonded or whatever to protect that Gus Green Road. I'm fine.
Yes, sir. And, Mr. President, as I indicated when I was here on, I believe it was December the 21st, the applicant is willing to maintain Gus Green Road from this point south.
Yeah.
To the extent there is damage done to the road by trucks or whatever. So he will fill in potholes, and he wants to do it quickly so they don't get worse. And then you have to re-overlay part of the road. So from this
We're gonna
point
need to
south.
get something in writing on that, and y'all gonna work
Yes,
with
sir.
our attorney to make sure that it's solid.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I didn't know if any other board member had any further questions.
I do, but it's for Mr. Weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Scott, I see two different zonings here now, R1A and R1B.
Sure, but we've got the attorney for the city.
Do what?
You have another interested party, right? Do we have another?
Well, we can hear them now if we want
Yeah,
to,
but
or
you
we
can finish your question, and then we can hear.
Okay.
from- yeah.
What is the difference between those two? Or tell me what those two are. Mr. President, if we would like to come back to that, we can, if you'd like to move forward.
Well, you know, it's a question on density, and I think that we ought to know that, and then we'll know exactly what they're proposing, and then we can bring in opposition and see what the problems they have.
The difference between R1A and R1B is a minimum lot area in R1A is 30,500 square feet, roughly 3/4 of an acre.
Mm-hmm.
The R1B is 15,000 square feet.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll just make one point, and I believe that I'm accurate on this, and if I'm not, Tom, let me know. I believe that even under the R1B classification, that is as large or larger than any Annandale lot, which of course is in the city of Madison just to the east.
Yeah. Well, you know, you get some confusions about Annandale lots and non-Annandale lots because you got the Whisper Lake area and all that, and I've read some of that over the last week. But I know that there are some large Annandale lots out there. But we're not going to, you know, it is what it is. It's R1A and R1B.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to.
Mr. President, I would, while he's up here and y'all headed down that road, where is the Annandale estate lots joining? If you could just show me on this map over here on your left.
And I was gonna actually say something. These are 10,000 to 15,000 foot lots. I did the planning on this in the early 90s for Annandale. The Annandale estate lots were done when the golf course was done back in the mid 80s, and that's these lots here. And the Annandale Construction Road comes out to Robinson Springs right there.
Like, where would it be on this map?
On this map, they would be, there's a pretty good buffer for future development. They're going to be back over here. There's some garden homes that are right here.
Right.
And then the estate lots are just off. They're not even picked up on the aerial.
So they're not joining R1B then at all?
No, this is all future development, and I don't know what Southern Farm is going to do with that, but
Okay, well, I'm talking about on yours, R1B. They're not joining?
no, they're not. No, and R1A actually comes to the corner of the property down there.
Yeah, okay.
It's a good question.
Thank you,
The
Tom.
Southern Farm owns the buffer between Annandale and your property.
That's correct.
Okay.
Do we know what that property is on?
It's in the city now, I believe, and it was a planned unit development when it was with the
Okay.
county.
All right, thank you.
Just one thing to add, that the petitioner agreed to 3/4 to 1.5 acre lots on the R1A.
Correct.
And the minimum house size, I believe, was 2,750 square foot on
Correct.
both of them,
Okay.
the R1A and R1B.
Why would you separate the lot sizes on R1A and R1B? What's the thought process there?
About a 20-foot wide creek that runs there, and so it's a good natural buffer, and it's a good reason to do that. You know, Peter has taken 35 years to do 100 lots. He bought the property in 77. And, you know, he's not, you know, a typical developer that comes in. He's going to build 3 or 4 houses a year. Just this section here, which is phase 1, those are 3/4 to 1.5 acres. And this is 3 to 5 years, 3 years. And I mean, this is 10 years for him. So.
Yeah, I just didn't know what your thought process was. The ditch is fine.
Yeah.
But
it's well, and just for, and he's very open about this, but just, you know, in the future, for his family to have the option to do something that responds to the market, and a 15,000-foot lot, which is larger than these over here, you know, it just makes sense, and it's closer to Robinson Springs Road, and you're also making a transition from 1 acre to 2 acre home sites up here, so that's what the thought process was.
okay, thank you, Tom.
Okay. I think we have someone else that want to speak in terms of opposition. If y'all finished with your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Does this work, or is this it? Is this the only option?
Yeah.
I actually have a pretty loud voice, so that probably would work as well. Good morning. My name's Adam Stone, and I'm here with my law partner, Katie Pickett, and we're here on behalf of the city of Madison. Chelsea Brandon wanted to be here this morning. She has some underlying health conditions, though, that make that unwise in the current world we live in. So she asked us to be here. The first kind of concern I had looking at this is I'm not sure exactly what we're here on. The agenda said 86.7 acres, but the attachment to the agenda says 160.39 acres. So I'm not really sure exactly what we're rezoning and what we're not rezoning. I think I've understood some of that some is going to R1A and some is R1B. Are we doing all of it? Why are we doing all of it? When are we doing it? I'm not real clear on that, and neither is the city of Madison. But really the more concerning issue relates to how does this project comport with the Madison County Comprehensive Plan, the Comprehensive Zoning Plan. The more importantly, the proposed zoning doesn't comport with it. Under the plan, this is supposed to be R1, and R1 would be 2 acre lots, not 1/3 of an acre lots, which is what part of this is looking at being. And what conditions have changed? What has changed that would make a plan that is just barely a year old now somehow out of date and worthy of a change? So those are really the two issues. And if you look at the zoning ordinance at 806.03, you'll see that there's two things that have to happen in order to rezone adverse to what the plan says. And the first would be there would have to be a clerical mistake in the plan, and I don't think that's at issue today. And the second would need to be either a change in the character of the neighborhood or you would have to have a change in the character of the neighborhood and a compelling need. And I don't think the record supports either of those two things. And what that means is that if the board were to change the zoning but not change the plan or be adverse to the plan, that you're going to have that's just not going to work. And there's case law on that. One of the first cases that you can think of would be the Costco case, Beard versus City of Ridgeland. In that case, a change was made, and the court found it was a spot change, and it struck it down. Another case would be the City of Goshen case, which is Collins versus the mayor of Goshen. In that case, it was a residential change that was made. There was a finding of a need, and because of it not comporting with the comprehensive plan, again, it was found to be a spot change. So without any evidence of a compelling need or a change, or there having been some clerical mistake, the zoning should be R1, not R1A or R1B. So the other thing is, if you look at your zoning ordinance at 806.4, you're going to see that in order to have an amendment, then you have to show that the rezoning meets all 4 elements of the comprehensive plan. And there's been no showing of that here, and we think that there are serious concerns about whether that would even be possible. So one of the issues here is right adjacent to this property is a sewer pond, which is the City of Madison sewer pond. So the City of Madison is actually a property owner that's abutting this property. And this project, as I understand it, is in a floodplain. And it's going to have to be raised. And when you raise the elevation of that property, you're going to change the water flow. I know that's a concern for the Annandale community, which I know they have a representative here that's going to speak on their behalf. And it's also a concern for Madison in regard to that sewer pond. So that's an issue that is a real concern. The second issue that's concerned is the City of Madison understands and knows that its fire department regularly responds to calls in this area as first responders. I mean, that's just doing your job and their life safety issues. Even if it's not in your jurisdiction, that's how fire departments are going to work. And what we're talking about here is changing more people, more houses. What is the plan for the zoning so that that area would be covered with proper fire and made safe? So given all of those things, it's pretty clear to me that the proposed zoning change does not comport with the comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan has not been changed. Now, if you go look at the comprehensive plan, it says itself that the plan must be used in making decisions regarding rezoning. That's right there on page, I believe, 4 of the plan. And it says that rezoning must be based on the comprehensive plan. That's also right there on page 4. And that the land use plan must be checked to determine if rezoning is in conformance with that plan. And finally, the plan has to be amended before the requested change in the rezoning is changed. That's all in the comprehensive plan. So, again, we believe that this change would negatively impact the city, that it needs to be looked at more closely. And frankly, the city would like to be part of the solution here. We would like to have discussions regarding what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, especially in regard to things like the sewer and the fire and the fire issue and issues like that. So, given all of that, the city at this point is opposed, and as a budding neighbor, is opposed to this rezoning and would ask that you deny it, or at least table this matter so that there can be further discussion. I think somebody for Annandale wishes to speak.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions?
Good morning. My name is Barry Hassel. I'm here on behalf of Annandale Golf Club. I'm an existing board member. I believe that the board has been provided with a copy of Jim Streetman, who's the president, December 21, 2020 letter opposing the rezoning. Is the board aware of that letter?
I had it put in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Briefly, I want to address this from Annandale Golf Club perspective. I echo all of the objections that Mr. Stone provided, and I would point out that the plan that's been proposed is 30, I believe it's 33 acres in one little section of the proposed R1A. I have not seen a plan for the R1B, nor the remaining parts of R1A. And as it goes to infrastructure, and when we look at that, that R1B could be hundreds of lots. Okay, so I'm hearing all this, what may be, we want to do this as it relates to market conditions. Market conditions, what are market conditions? What I'm looking at is a present development of 33 lots that is inconsistent with the land use plan. If you look at the land use plan, which is freely available on the website, everything that surrounds this property is residential estate. Everything. There is no R1A, then there is no R1B. And so to me, I don't see the need, and Annandale opposes this. And I want to make one statement. If you look at the land use plan and the residential goals, it says to locate higher density residential developments in areas where the infrastructure will support such development and where the development is compatible with the surrounding land uses. That's not what we have here. What we're doing is we're creating smaller lots and creating greater density in an area that doesn't need it and in an area that has no surrounding areas that are similar to that. One other point is, as Mr. Stone pointed out, this Annandale Golf Club is a neighboring landowner, and that sewage lagoon that he's talking about is going to be a big issue for everyone, and there will be houses right up next to that sewage lagoon, which creates all kinds of drainage issues in addition to other sewage issues. So we worry about that. Annandale Golf Club is concerned about the property value in the area. They also were not provided any notice of the rezoning whatsoever. And so I just wanted to say on the record that Annandale Golf Club does object to the rezoning.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes.
A couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are the size of the homes, an average size of the home in Annandale?
Well, if you look at which Annandale, I'm here on behalf of Annandale Golf Club. So if you're talking about
That one then.
Right.
Just stay
on the
that
Annandale
one.
Golf Club, you're looking at houses that are anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 square feet.
But they start around 3,500.
Correct. That's correct.
35. And the average valuation or dollar amount sale of a home in there is roughly
$750,000 to $1 million, I would think.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
Okay, did anybody else have any questions? Well, then, we had a couple things came up I'm interested in, and I'm glad you got back up. The floodplain issue.
Yes, sir.
Where's
I was going to
floodplain?
speak to the legal issues, but if you want to cover flood issues first,
I was going to
let
Mr.
Bobbitt.
get
Yes,
up
sir.
and explain the floodplain issue, the sewer, and some of the sewer lagoon stuff. Then we'll talk about the legal side.
Okay, the floodplain does come down through here right now. There's a lake that Bill Colson's designing in here to mitigate that. There'll be storage in this lake. It's about a 30-acre lake. And actually, I've got a drawing that shows that, if I can put that up here. And also just quickly want to speak to the issue about what's being rezoned. We initially, in May, wanted to rezone this acreage here with 33 home sites. The city objected and wanted all of it rezoned. We explained this was a 10-year project for him, and we were happy to leave all of this R3. There was an objection, and I understand that. But this is the lake as it's configured, and all the water coming into that is going to be controlled. There's something called freeboard storage in the lake, and
Mr. President, is I guess the spokesperson for Annandale, has he seen this map?
no, because the county didn't require us doing this map. This was done for the city, and I'll be glad to show him this.
Well, I was just going to ask if he wanted to come to
Yeah,
see
if you can step around and
just
let's take.
if you don't mind it, while
No,
you explain.
no, not at all.
Okay.
So this is the sewage lagoon right here. This was the initial phase 1, which was 33 home sites that are they're averaging a little over an acre, and that's what Mr. DeBuchler wanted to rezone. So this is all buffer. This is all golf course over here. The Provence garden homes are actually right here. So that sort of gives you the lay of the land. Everything down to the creek was R1B. And then everything south of that, which the further out you get, frankly, the more of a cartoon it is. You know, you don't know what's going to happen 15 or 20 years. And Peter would be happy to just rezone this. That's what he wanted to do. So, did I answer your question on the water?
Yeah, so that lake will solve the issue of any downstream flood issues that's why you designed it. And that's why Mr. Colson, he's one of the best.
Right, and you know, by law, Peter can't impound water on somebody else.
Right.
So he has to handle all that, and I suspect there'll be 2 or 3 feet of storage in the lake.
That whole block there, R1A and R1B, is that 160 acres total?
It is.
160.39.
And y'all actually originally was asking for the 33 acres,
It
and
was-
y'all went to the city or talked with the city, I guess, and they did not. They wanted to see the whole area rezoned.
Correct. The whole 160 acres, and there was
That's the
concern.
reason y'all are coming back now,
Right.
or the reason y'all are moving forward like this.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Mr. DeBuchler would be okay with the 33 acres or half of it R1B, the R1A.
Yeah, that's R1A up top.
Yeah, that was his initial.
Yes.
Initially, he wanted to just rezone this top portion.
Yeah.
But the city of Madison asked that we rezone everything to take it away from the R3 status. So if he sold it, somebody couldn't come in and put condos, apartments, et cetera. So he wants to now rezone all of it just to get it done. But yeah, he was only asking to rezone the top half.
But
Yeah,
the
and-
city would, I guess, and I'm asking this question, did the city say that they would rather have it rezoned R1? Is that the reason they asked y'all to look at rezoning all of it?
Yeah, and we had a meeting with the city and discussed R1A and R1B. And so we left that meeting with the understanding that this was going to be okay. This is news
Who'd
to
you
me.
meet with?
Who
did you call?
Yeah, the mayor, the public works director, the city attorney. I mean, there were, 6 people, 7 people in that meeting.
So this hadn't gone in front of any boards with the city of Madison?
Yes,
It went in front of the Madison Planning and Zoning Board
Oh, it has?
on November the 9th.
What did they end up doing with it?
Approved it. Yeah. And then we went in front of the Madison County Zoning Board 3 days later, approved.
Right, but y'all went in front of the city of Madison?
The city of Madison Planning and
Board?
Zoning,
And
not
they-
the Board of Aldermen.
No, and they approved it as well?
Yes, sir.
With any conditions?
Just the concept, not any detail was given. But that's not exactly accurate.
Well, we'd be glad to talk about these.
Right.
The R1A and R1B.
Well, I guess what I'm asking,
This
though,
was the plan that was approved by the city.
and what's the difference in that plan?
Just that this shows 33 home sites in detail in the zoning of R1A and R1B. This shows all the home sites with a lake, same zoning, R1A, R1B.
Yeah, so it's no difference in the zoning.
Other than some more
Correct.
detail, which frankly, this is
Right,
somewhat
okay.
of a cartoon.
And one of the legal issues that I was going to raise is the details about how the streets are laid and the lots are platted. That's really not what we're here on today.
right.
The applicant would work with the city or the county or whoever about the fine tuning about putting in streets.
I would like to stay on the reason, my question, stay on the reason why we're here. And my next question here is showing a need or change in the character. Do y'all have that, a need? Because
I
I
do.
agree, there is, you have to show a need and change of character in the area.
I have a letter from
Or a mistake,
show this to everyone, but here's a letter from David Cox, who is, I believe, fairly well-known local realtor, talking about the need for housing in that area.
Can somebody tell me what it says?
Yeah, I can
I'll bring
take
you
it down
a
to you.
copy. It doesn't say anything about a change, and the comprehensive plan is
Well, let me speak to the plan. The plan was enacted, 14 months ago. The applicant purchased the land in 1977. It's zoned R3. Those are merely guidelines. They're not, written in stone. Yes, this board should factor that in, but those are guidelines and nothing more.
And I know the sewer line was discussed, which is very important. Of course, I know we're not here today for that. If the board approves any part of this, all that would have to come back and be worked on.
Correct.
To ensure. So I'm not I'm not going to go down that road today. I would like for the attorney to see that, our attorney to see that letter as well.
I want to make sure I'm clear. He said that it's just a guideline. The ordinance, the zoning ordinance says zoning regulations shall be made in accordance with a comprehensive plan. Accordingly, no amendment to the official zoning map shall be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission unless the proposed rezoning is consistent with all four elements of the adopted comprehensive plan. That is not a guideline. That is an absolute requirement.
I believe it's a guideline. It was enacted after the property was zoned R3, which I believe was in the mid-'80s, and well after the applicant purchased the land in 1977. And I believe, Mr. Weeks, it's the position of the county that the land use mandate is merely a guideline, that it's not rigidly, absolutely binding.
I cited the two, on the Court of Appeals and the Mississippi Supreme Court decision that said the exact opposite and struck down the zoning change for not.
I guess what my question to, Mr. President, my question to Mr. Weeks would be, I know this came in front of the planning and zoning, and they approved it on the county.
On November 12th, yes,
I guess
sir.
my question would be, what did they indicate a need of character and change for them to approve?
Well, as you clearly know, this property, I think it was zoned maybe in 1985 or roughly roundabout to R3. R3 allows 10 units per acre of apartments or duplexes. That property around it's R2, R1, and the comprehensive plan or the land use plan should not be regarded as cast in concrete. Instead, it should be remembered the land use plan is subject to change as the county grows. It may be amended at any time following the necessary public hearings for such amendments, which is what the Planning Commission did. And generally, the plan's purpose is to maintain what is important to the community and to change what is regarded as harmful and unnecessary. R3 is not necessarily for the best interest of those citizens in that area. That is obvious, which is the reason why they're changing it. The land use plan shows that as R1. It's up to the petitioner to change the zoning in these areas. It's not the county's, we don't take that stand on changing the land use plan to say this is apartments. It says it's R1, which is the minimum change of what we need to say is in there to allow the petitioners to put forth the change of the character of the neighborhood, which they did to the Planning Commission.
And you're exactly correct as far as the petitioners to put that in front of the board, but it did pass the Planning and Zoning Board.
Yes, sir, it did.
What did when it was passed, what did they say as far as the change of the character and the deed?
Well,
what did they say and give?
They saw that letter from the petitioner that said, from a professional, David Cox.
Okay.
Said that area needs to, that's in the best interest of the community.
Right.
And they know that R3 is not in the best interest of that community. And, even though it's not an error, it does need to be changed.
Okay. I got you.
So just to be clear, the letter only mentions R1A. It doesn't mention R1B at all.
Correct.
And it doesn't say anything about a change from the comprehensive plan, which is what the case law is saying. So,
do you have a copy of that
I do, and it actually does mention R1A and R1B.
Where does it say R1B? On Exhibit D?
And this is from E. David Cox, which has been around for many years. And
Wait, is another version other than the version that was attached to the agenda?
Yeah, he supplemented.
When was that?
That initial letter was written when they were rezoning R1A.
And then the city of Madison asked that we rezone all of it.
So that's on 45 acres, 33 home sites is what that letter, and you can read the other, well, there's one right there. Yeah, you can.
Months ago. October.
To Scott.
That wasn't produced in response to our public records.
Yeah, we had a public records request on this. This was not a produced document. So the first time I've seen it, so it looks like they did stick B in there for this one. This is the first we've seen of this document, and it still doesn't say anything about needs.
Can we let Mr. DeBuchler, who spent 40 years developing the property next door, talk about need and what's appropriate for the area, because he's lived it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Change
ahead.
character.
I'm not going to take long. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for hearing us. What we want to do is just continue what we have been doing in the first phases. So there is no change in thought. The only thing we want to do is and I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a little brochure. That, turn it over, it starts up there.
Thanks, Pete.
I put Gerald's on his.
Okay. So if you look at those brochures, we do not want to build small little homes on small little lots. We want to do it continuously what we have doing, which is basically a lot with a beautiful home on there. And if you look to the first page, what we proposed in 2016 at the board, and you can see what we built at that space after we did that. And it's exactly in line what we proposed. I'm not a developer that doesn't live in this community. I live right with my people. If you want, 80% of the people are in agreement, or even more than that, of what we are doing. I think it's more like 90. So I think if you have 90% of people living around you that are in agreement and not complaining, I have had not one lawsuit in the last 30 years from any of my inhabitants. So if you want to fight that fundamental idea of following the people that are that are living in your subdivision and being good for them, that's what we want to do, right? So look to the numbers here. In all the phases, I'm sorry for my cough, we have 105 home sites built in total over 30 years, right? We have 62 that are 1 acre or around 1 acre out of those 105. So the majority of what we have done in the past is 1 acre, right? We have 7 that are between 1 acre and an acre and a half. We have 5 who are between 1 acre and 2 acres, and we have 31 who are 2 acres. That is the history of Newcastle Port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Castle Ridge and Castle Ridge 1 and Castle Ridge 2. And nobody has any problem with that. We are all happy with that. My inhabitants are happy with that, and I would like to continue that story. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President, any other questions?
Anybody have any other questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Just one last question for me. How many acres is R1A?
83?
It's listed.
86.67. and R1B is 73.72.
Okay. 73 something.
73.72.
The lake is 30 acres,
That's correct.
and looks like the lake is mostly coming out of the R1A portion.
Correct.
Is that correct?
I don't know, it's a function of how the ground lays.
Yeah.
So you pick a contour.
It's just okay.
And that might be true.
Okay. All right then. Anybody?
One
Go ahead.
more question. I guess this to the people that represent the city of Madison and the applicant here. We postponed it last meeting. Asked you all to get together. Did y'all meet at all? Or did y'all get any closer? After the meeting, if y'all
We
met?
reached out several times to Mayor Hawkins. Mayor Hawkins got back with me Wednesday of last week, and then spoke with Peter that afternoon. I think it was Wednesday, but we were not able to physically meet, and so we're here today.
Walter, I had a call from Mary Friday that she was trying to reach you and was not able to. So
Yeah, I didn't get a call from her Friday, but I did speak with her Wednesday, and I told her she needed to speak with Peter, and she did speak with Peter
On Friday?
Wednesday late afternoon. I don't know if you spoke with Mayor Hawkins Friday, did you?
Friday was New Year.
Right,
that's right.
right. I didn't have a call from her New Year's Day.
The city might be able to respond to that.
Yeah.
Right, desperately. I was informed that the city meeting. I was informed that the final decision about all the Board of Aldermen, about 20 minutes before that meeting, I was informed that meeting was, that we were not on the docking, 20 minutes before that. I left a message, I went to that meeting in any way, and I talked to Katisha, what is it? Kianka.
Yeah.
And I asked her specifically that I would like that Mary would call me, Mary Hawkins would call me, and I haven't heard. And the next morning I called her secretary, Janet, with the same information. I did not get one phone call in the next 3 weeks. None. None from the county, none from the secretary, meaning from nobody. And then my two gentlemen did the same activity in calling the city and the responsible people in the city. We didn't get any response till the moment we put the thing back on the docket. At once, everything got awake again, right? And then, in my opinion, we have talked about this for 3 months and discussed about it for 3 months. We have given we have revisited the whole R13 for the city, not for the county, for the city. We changed all our plans. We met, we studied, and then a couple of days before this meeting, something else happened too, that the city took our proposal here off the docket in the last meeting. In any way, I called Mary on a couple of days ago, and we had a long conversation, and I said, we have everything prepared, let's just rezone. Because you're going to have your say about the actual execution of what is going to be built and how it's going to be built. That will go before everyone again, you know? So we can talk as long as we want about rezoning. I said, I'm going to rezone it. And then we said, I appreciate your position, city, but let's rezone and let's have the talks, the discussions of all. And that's basically what happened.
So as getting to the end of that, as I understand it, at the end, when the city reached out, he was like, well, let's just get it rezoned, and that meeting didn't happen. We are certainly still willing to meet and sit down and would be willing to schedule that. So if the board wants to table it and let them try to talk again, I'll certainly try to arrange it.
I would like, Mr. President, I'd like to ask one question to Mr. Adams.
Mr. Stone, yes,
Yeah.
Adam.
The city does not, the city opposes to R1A and R1B. They oppose to both of those zonings. Is that correct?
At this point, I think that we would like to have some questions answered, and then maybe some of those things.
At this
can change.
point, are they opposed to R1A and R1B?
At this point, the answer is yes.
Yeah, okay. And I clearly understand sitting down and getting questions, but
That's something we
it
could.
sounds as if, I'm not sure what it all sounds like, that y'all just can't get together for some reason or another, and I don't know why. But I just want to make it clear that the city understands that it is for apartment zoning at this point.
At this point, it is, but back to the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan for this part of the county is for R1, which is very different from R1B. And so, and different from R1A. And so there's issues with that pond that's there. We can talk a whole lot about them. I'm interested in why somebody's going to put a $750,000 home next to a sewer pond, but that's going to be their decision, not mine. But the fact is that there are issues that need to be worked out. I think that it would be worth trying to see if we could get there.
Well, Mr. Steen, let me speak to the issue that council raised. The quote-unquote issues are the details and the fine-tuning once the zoning has been modified. We were in front of the City of Madison Zoning Board on November the 9th, and it was authorized, subject to when the final platting was done, coming back to the city. The applicant is certainly willing to go back to the City of Madison to vet all of these issues, all of these points. What we're talking about now is just changing the way that the 160.39 acres is zoned. The top half R1A, the bottom half R1B.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. President.
As opposed to R3 right now.
Correct. Yes, sir.
We have some concerns about whether it's properly R3, because as we've gone back and dug into that, we can't find any proof of the publication of that, or that it was signed as would generally be required. So I'm not sure that it's not actually agricultural properly if it were challenged. And there's case law on that.
I have a question. Does the city operate kind of like the county? Like we have a planning and zoning board too that reviews the information, and then they make a decision just like the city did, the city planning and zoning board, and then they send it to us and we approve it or not. Is that not how the city works?
It is.
So it never went to the city.
And that's what Peter was talking about earlier. We were on the city Board of Aldermen docket. Peter showed up for the meeting, and Mary asked that it be pulled, so he was not heard. I was not at that hearing. Okay. So yes, Sheila, that is the way that it works. It basically works the same as the county.
Okay. Any other questions by any other members?
There's a gentleman right there.
As a gentleman.
May I briefly respond real quickly? 2 points. One, as council said, the reason this is so important is because if it is rezoned, then it all is just details. That's all it is. And once it's R1 big, what Annandale, first of all, Annandale had no notice of this. Then we hear there's going to be 33 R1A lots. Next thing we know, there's 83 acres of R1A and 78 acres of R1B. All right? Now, and I echo what Attorney Stone said, there are some issues with that original zoning. And if we were sitting here and this was from agricultural to R1, from the way it's being presented, which is R3, which is an R3 to an R1A, R1B. Annandale's position would be that this should all be R1 because it's consistent with everything else that's around it. So that would be the primary point. I would make one other point. Mr. Tabukwa said that no one objects to this. I don't know how many people knew about it, to be perfectly frank with you. I don't know how much notice was given to neighboring. I know we didn't know, which is the reason Jim Streetman had to send a letter on December 21. because we had no notice. So I would just make those points, and that's it. Thank you.
And just a few brief points. As to whether there were problems with the 1985 zoning, I have no idea about that. That was 35 years ago. But certainly the doctrine of laches would impact that. I mean, you can't 35 years later challenge something when property taxes have been paid. And on the issue of details, yes, as council said, once the zoning has been modified, we are obligated to work out details, but it's R3 now. So I really don't understand what the city of Madison thinks is going to be gained by questioning it, because it stands to reason that it's much better for the county and the city that high density multifamily housing not happen in this 160-acre tract as opposed to low density housing.
Scott, I got a question for you.
Have a copy.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting to that. We're going to get to that.
Sorry, just say hypothetically.
Yeah, Annandale property is notified.
We were to deny this today.
This is not Annandale Golf Club. Annandale Properties LP.
If we were to deny this today and just say in a few weeks or month or year, somebody came to us or came to Dubuque and wanted to build apartments there, what would be our process in stopping them from doing it?
You can't. They could present a preliminary plat and move straight along.
Okay.
Ms. Weeks did, and we were talking about the notification to the property owners within 160 feet. I think that's our.
Yeah.
It's a courtesy, yes.
Yes, and then that was done.
Yes.
And we do have the receipts.
I have some of them. Now, you got to understand the postal system.
Yeah,
Not
that's
everything
right.
comes back.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
The city of Madison is an abutting property owner that was not given that notice. So we're clear.
How long has the city of Madison known about this possible rezoning? When was approximately the first
Since
contact?
June, is that correct? Since June?
And that contact was through the planning and zoning or through whom? With the city?
It was through planning and zoning and yes.
So the city has been contacted since June?
Correct.
In some manner, well, through the planning and zoning?
Correct.
Okay. And who's the attorney for the planning and zoning with the city? Who would that?
Let's see if I have that information.
Well, while you're looking it up,
Yeah.
Mr. Griffin, since our last meeting, we received a FOIA request from the city of Madison for all of this. Since we last met, we scrambled, Scott Weeks and Shelton and myself, we provided all of the items that we could find that the city of Madison wanted, including notices, all the questions that were from A to G that were exhibits that I attached, and I personally hand-delivered it to the city of Madison right after Christmas. And the city of Madison's lawyer acknowledged receipt.
Yeah, I got that email from
Who was the attorney at the time on the planning and zoning for the city of Madison?
I don't know who that lawyer
The
was.
city representatives answer that question.
Kiyanka Stringfellow was there for the city of Madison, but I believe her title is the Director of Community Development.
But they
I don't know that
usually-
there was a lawyer there. It's just the board members. And Leah Tedford is a lawyer for the County Zoning Commission, not the city of Madison.
Kiyanka is not an attorney.
Yeah.
She's a planner.
Yeah.
Okay, but did they have an attorney there at all for the city of Madison?
I don't believe, but I hate to represent that and be wrong.
Okay.
I wasn't there myself, and I don't have that information, so I think the answer is no, but I'm not 100% sure.
And I think the answer is no also.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Well, I think all the presentations have been given, and from both the Mr. DeBucler, and also from the city of Madison and the golf course, which they don't know whether or not they got noticed, even though Annandale properties, and I don't know what's the difference myself. What's the wishes of the board on this issue? We have to make a decision of some type.
I would like to see everybody, not us, but Walter, you and your people and Mary's people sit down at the table and figure this out next week and get back with us.
Motion?
I'll make an emotion if you guys want, but I mean, that's what I would, it's better for them to decide together because.
The motion is that we table this until our next meeting, allowing them another opportunity to get together. There's no. Is there a second?
There's a second.
So there is a second, and hopefully, you all will be able to get together. I think it seems to me that the developer has been trying to work with the city since June. I don't understand the problem myself, but you know I'm not Annandale Golf Course and I'm not the city of Madison, so I don't. It's not for me to know what holdups they have. I do believe that the zoning of R3 was done properly, as things were done in 1985. Maybe record-wise, some of that stuff is not available as some of the things are now. But I remember voting yes. But anyway.
Mr. President, I know at the last board meeting, we come to the same conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, apparently everybody been trying the last couple of months, and there's been zero progress. I mean, zero progress.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at R1A, that top part, and I've, looking at it, the developer has agreed to 2,700 square foot home.
2750.
2,750 square foot homes with the R1A lot size is anywhere from 3/4 to 1.5 acres. And guys, that's very similar to or better than what's out there now. And we're taking a chance on R1B, leaving it zoned the way it is, to be quite frank with you. I think Supervisor Baxter asked a good question a while ago. If someone comes up wanting to build 600 units of apartments, yes, there'll be a lawsuit, but there's a lawsuit. So, yeah, I'm gonna make the substitute motion that we go ahead and approve R1A only, with the amount of acres of 86.67 acres. The two letters that I received from E. David Cox, broker, concerning the change in the character and the need. Enter those two letters in the minutes. With the understanding that the drainage, the water is taken care of. Of course, it'll always have to come back and at a later date and take care of that. But, Mr. President, that's going to be my motion to approve only the R1A part that's on this map, with the understanding of 2,750 square feet, with the lot size 3/4 acres to 1.5 acres. Using these two letters here, using one of the letters from E. David Cox for our need for changing the character and the need. And I make that motion. I'll see if we get a second.
Okay. You're including changing the land use plan for that and for that area.
Yeah,
also,
oh yeah,
right?
you'd have to
Okay.
to be able to do it.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Since
So-
we do have a second on this, this doesn't slow anyone down as far as moving forward. It has proven to me that it's good for the area. It coincides with the area as well. And then it would be very helpful if the city and the developer will continue discussions on R1B. Seem like that's where the challenge is, from what I'm just hearing, majority of it. That's where I'm hearing that the challenge is. And the rest of it, as far as the structure and entrance, the lake, the sewer, all that has to be taken care of at the appropriate time. I mean, just like normal. So, Mr. President, that's my motion.
And I second that motion. So we have a substitute motion that we need to take up first before we take up the original motion, or if we would aim to take up the original motion.
Substitute motion is the one I just made, correct?
Yes, substitute motion is the one you just made. All in favor of the substitute motion, show by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The substitute motion failed 2-3. So the motion that is up on the table now would be the motion to delay and wait for another 2 weeks to see if the city and the developer can get together. All in favor of the motion to?
My statement on that. Next meeting, I'm making a suggestion that whoever area this in, supervisor, get involved in with the city and come to a reasonable solution. My vote would be to approve everything he asked for, because the city told him to go and rezone it all. So you all need to get together and work out y'all difficulties there. And the reason I'm agreeing to kick the can down the road a little further is because it was the holidays. Maybe people were with their family. They couldn't get together because I wouldn't have been talking county business on New Year's Day. So I'm pretty sure the people of the city of Madison wasn't going to be talking business on New Year's Day. So those are a couple of reasons why I'm going to say let's kick it down to the next meeting. But my decision will be made at that next meeting. So City of Madison and the supervisors of that area work something out, because I'm going to be ready to vote yes or no on the next meeting.
Okay. Now, it's time to vote on the delay. We had voted on the delay yet. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And this is for them to bring it back in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was 5-0 vote, Mr. Chancellor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks.
Mr. President, I don't know whether we want to enter these two into the minutes.
Those letters there, I would like to see a minute into the minutes if you make that motion.
All right, I'll make a motion to enter the letter from E. David Cox, broker,
Yeah.
and also from the, I guess from the president of Annandale Property Homeowner Association, David McMillan, into the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, they're in the minutes.
I'll have to have a bathroom break after that.
Okay. All right. Scott, who we have next?
Nadine Mason, this is a rezoning of 5.01 acres from C1 Commercial to A1 Agricultural. It's located at 4691 Highway 43,
Motion
Supervisor
approved.
District 5. It was approved by the Planning Commission on 12/10/20.
There's been a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, next.
Next item, Delbert Goodlow, conditional use for surface
Who that you got with you,
mining.
Nadine?
Highway 51 North of Pisgah Bottom Road, Zoned A1, Supervisor District 5, approved by the Planning Commission 1210 of 20.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Next item, Grace Crossing Baptist Church. It's a site plan for an expansion located at 598 Yandle Road. Property zoned R1 residential, Supervisor District 5, approved by the Planning Commission 1210 of 20.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Next item, Lone Wolf, is the site plan, 107 Lone Wolf Drive. Property zone C2 commercial, Supervisor District 4, approved by Planning Commission 1210 of 20.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Last item I have is Johnson Commercial Office. It's a site plan located at 1019 Gluckstadt Road, property zone C1A commercial, Supervisor District 2, approved by the Planning Commission 1210 of 20.
Oh.
Who is that one?
Supervisor District 2.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Ayes have it.
Hey, that time.
Y'all did a good job. Great presentation.
Mr. President, before we move on to the next item, I notified you in an email that once the hour of 10 o'clock arises, that we would present depository bids for you to acknowledge.
That's correct.
I believe the clerk has those depository bids.
Okay.
There's only one out there, but I'll ask them.
You need an audience. Okay. Yeah.
Make some hot coffee.
I finished mine.
Cup ain't big enough.
Just have one, nobody there? Okay.
Okay, we ready.
Depository bids are for all the county accounts. It's done every 2 years. So I apologize for this not being on the agenda. They, as Sheldon said, they were received till 10 today. I'd like to open these bids, if I may.
Okay.
This is from Renaissance. .05%, APY 5 basis points.
Okay.
This is from Origin Bank. Point 0.10%, or a floating rate based on the federal funds effective rate.
What was that one again, Ron?
Yeah, reread that.
I'm looking at it, says with a fixed interest rate for the next 2 years of 0.10%,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
or a floating rate based on the federal funds effective rate.
Mm-hmm.
The current federal funds effective rate is 0.08%, so the rate to the Madison County is 0.13%. I'm confused with this. But
Which bank was this?
this is Origin Bank.
Origin.
All right, I have two different ones for them now, so
Okay.
tell me which one is.
Well, I will read the paragraph to you. Okay. Public fund now accounts with a fixed interest rate for the next 2 years of 0.10% or a floating rate based upon the federal funds effective rate as published in the Wall Street Journal or the Treasury Gov website for the last business day of the month, adjusted monthly plus 5 basis points. The account will include a floor rate of 10 basis points. The current federal funds effective rate is 0.08%, so the rate to Madison County is 0.13%. Certificate of deposit rates to be quoted as needed. Origin Bank will offer a 20% discount on deposit and treasury management services for 2021 and 2022.
So it's 0.13.
I believe that's basically what they're saying. They've got 0.10 in the first of the paragraph. But it says with a fixed interest rate for the next 2 years of 0.1%. 0.10%. Sir?
Seems like they get to choose.
That's what I'm wondering.
Or it's lower.
Yeah.
Whichever is lower.
Every month.
Whichever is.
Every month.
I guess
We're
from their
5.
perspective, whichever is lower.
The floating rate.
It's a floating rate, 5 percentage points added to federal rate monthly.
Do we have some
Last day of every month. Next.
Next.
Yeah.
Bangor South. Two-year fixed rate of 0.05%.
Yeah.
Bank Plus. For the 2-year period beginning January the 4th, 2021 through December the 31st, 2022, Bank Plus agrees to pay interest on the transaction accounts maintained with us at either 0.00% or 0.03% based on balances. Average total balances between $15 million and $50 million will receive 0.3%. However, should average balances total less than that, no interest will be paid. These rates will remain fixed over the term of this agreement and will automatically revert to the default rate for Bank Plus public funds interest checking accounts. Any questions on that?
No, I think that's very clear. It's 0.
Final bid, Trustmark. Trustmark, the county's funds and deposited at Trustmark will bear interest rates at the fixed rate of 0.15%, subject to Trustmark's monthly maintenance and activity fees, including the preferred rate.
Okay.
Do we want to go over all these again?
I would, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I would ask you to get with our administrator and y'all look at those things.
And then return?
And let us, tell us which ones to vote, because there's 1 or 2 in there. It's written a little differently. And make sure we understand exactly what is best for the county.
Yeah, it works.
Make sure we understand the floating or the rate and
Thank you.
something else.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board.
Mr. President?
Yeah, I agree with that. So we just table that until we get our information back from the analysts over there.
I would like to ask Mr. Lott, what is our average balance? Do we know what our average balance may be? Our average balance in that.
It's in excess of $40 million. Right now, we're drawing 2.8% interest, so the market has significantly changed in 2 years.
It has.
Significantly.
So we have approximately 40 million.
That's an average balance. January and February, our balance will peak, and we could have as much as 85 million in the bank.
Okay, thank you.
2.8.
Yes, sir. We're currently receiving 2.8% interest.
Right. And the highest we got over there was what, 1.5?
0.15.
0.15.
And who are we with now? Who are we with now? Here I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, Renaissance.
Renaissance.
Okay, so will you acknowledge those and take them under advisement?
Got a motion to acknowledge
Is there a
the
second?
bids.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, where are we now? Do you have anything, Mike?
No.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Yes, sir.
County Administrator?
Actually, this is going to be a shared item. I have a request from the tax assessor to expand parking at the building on Cobblestone Drive in the city of Madison.
Right.
The city of Madison has representatives here that want to address this. Our county engineer has been putting together a plan for this, so this will be kind of a joint request for any questions that you may have about expanding the parking lot at Cobblestone Drive.
Okay, that's good. Who's first, City of Madison?
If that's who you would like to talk
Yeah.
to first.
This would be about the expanded parking lot.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you again. I'm Katie Pickett. I'm with Jones Walker. I'm here on behalf of the city of Madison. I carry with me Miss Brandon's apologies again. She's very sorry that she's not here in person to address the issues raised today. The city would just like to request that the county work with it on complying with the city's landscaping ordinances, its draining ordinances with respect to the parking lot expansion.
Okay.
Make the board aware
Yeah.
that we gave courtesy notice to the city of Madison about expanding the parking lot on county-owned property.
Right.
So after that was done, we received forms from the city of Madison to rezone or comply with this type of effort. So I responded to them. I said, well, we gave you a courtesy notice, but we don't have to formally apply to do anything in the city of Madison for county-owned property because it's a state subdivision. We don't have to. We just gave you courtesy notice, not that we had to even do that. Just like if the state of Mississippi wanted to expand the building, or expand the parking lot on federal, state-owned property inside of county, they don't have to comply with our processes either. It's the same thing. So I responded to her, and so not that we shouldn't work with them, but we don't have to.
That's great.
Mr. President and Mike, I appreciate that. I think that's a very reasonable request, to work with the city and landscaping. And I appreciate Mr. Espy's, what the law says anyway, and addressing the board. But I think that's very reasonable to work with the city.
And the city absolutely appreciates the courtesy and appreciates the courtesy notice. A small point of disagreement, there's a more recent case out of the Mississippi Supreme Court, the Hattiesburg versus Regional 12 case, that says that state buildings and state-owned, state division buildings do still need to comply. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to follow building permit processes, but they do need to comply with reasonable ordinances that are in place for the health, safety of Madison's citizenry. So that would be what I would say, but I agree that we can all work together on this, and that's all that the city is asking for.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna work together. That's fine. Tim?
Yes, sir.
Do you, have you started the plans or did any plans on the expansion?
We have a cost estimate, which is, I believe, in your packet under
It is.
Shelton, and a general layout of the parking lot.
Anything with the landscape?
No, there was not anything for landscaping. As it currently sits, there's, I think, 5 or 6 trees that are in that general area. We will be taking down at least 2 of them to put the parking lot in. But that's.
Tim, what is, Mr. President, I
Go
have a
ahead, go ahead,
question. Tim, what is the drainage? Can you address the drainage on this section?
Everything comes off the road back onto the site. So there's nothing that's going to be leaving the site. The site is actually lower than the 2 adjacent roads.
And when it comes back on the side, it's going into
A catch
drainage.
basin, right.
Okay. And parking spaces is approximately, what, 20?
I believe 20 or 21.
21. And I know that at this point, we're definitely in dire need of extra parking places until we, build another building elsewhere or do something between the tax assessor and collector. But this is basically I guess, regular asphalt parking.
It is.
Spaces. Like we
Regular
have out
asphalt
there.
parking with curb and gutter.
And no extra driveway onto the main drive or?
Correct. It's going to come out onto the existing drive that goes out to Cobblestone.
Yeah, and I see that at this point. And the 2 green spots that you have on this site plan, what is that?
Those are islands, just landscape islands. We could put trees in those or grass or whatever.
Are there any lighting out there that's needed?
I haven't been
Okay.
aware of any lighting issues.
Okay. And the landscaping, we can always come back and work with the landscaping with the city and because that's going to be the last thing anyway, or would be the last thing that we would do,
Right.
would be the landscaping.
Correct.
And if this is approved by the board, what kind of time are you looking for?
We probably have plans ready in a couple weeks, and we
And
can
when you say
start
plans, you're talking about?
the grades of how the curb and gutter needs to go in to make it drain correctly.
And so you're looking at having it finished within 60 days?
I
If
would
the weather
hope so.
depends.
Right. It's not the best time of the year, but I would hope so. We'll bid it out piecemeal. We'll grade the parking lot, get somebody to come in, put the curb and gutter, and we'll come back and put the asphalt in it.
Okay.
And then we'll
And,
do whatever landscaping you guys want to do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Have any questions?
No, not about that.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to move forward with the final design.
Second.
Okay.
And you bring back final design with or without the landscaping. And when I say that, I'm not sure whether we can get with the city of Madison within the 2 weeks, and if we can, that's great with the landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can't, bring it back anyway to where we can hopefully move forward with this.
Okay.
That was the
Okay.
motion.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed. Thanks,
And,
Tim.
Mr. President, I would ask for the city of Madison, who would be our contact person for this landscaping? If you will, without, at this point, just get with Tim, and y'all just.
I'll get his card and we'll get him that information in the next 10 minutes.
That's good, because we would like to move forward with it and do it all at one time if we could.
Absolutely.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Yeah, well. Okay. I think our control is coming in. We're not gonna pay for no gas, no.
Hey, good morning. Happy New Year, everyone.
How you doing?
I don't have any items for you this morning. I have 36 through 39, which is the general claims docket, and 3 payroll dockets.
Okay, can we get a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I didn't see anything on there with Fleet Corps.
No, sir.
Okay.
It'll be
I
on the
just
next
want to make sure my eyes wasn't playing tricks.
No, sir, you didn't do the
Not a
next
All right,
one.
thank you.
Not a thing. Chancellor Clerk, do you have anything? second the last motion?
I did.
Gotta pay attention there, Mr. Chester.
Yeah.
You had to ask if
Is that all you have?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, I have nothing else.
Okay, Sheriff.
I just had one request. Would like permission to talk with Danny Lee or get Danny to come down and look at the rear parking lot there at the jail. I think that facility was built in 2003, the administrative portion of it. And that back lot had some fairly thin asphalt laid when it was constructed. And I don't know if y'all have seen the divots where the tires are, but they're holding water and it has cracked. And it's starting to, it's just starting to undermine the rest of the parking lot. I guess the water getting under that. So we either need to look at repairing it or we're going to end up having to have a new parking lot. So if you don't mind, if I get Danny to come down and look at that.
Well, why don't you just, we cut to the chase and send the engineer down, and send Tim down and look at it, since we might have to get a new parking lot, and he's already designing one, so he may as well look at that one.
All right, can we do that then?
Okay, then. So, Tim, we need you to go down to the sheriff's office and go to jail.
Yeah.
And see if we got a new, what's going on with that back parking lot.
Mr. President, I have a question for the sheriff.
Go ahead.
If you don't, Sheriff, I know last year we talked about the deputies having cameras on them, on their body cameras. Can you give an update?
Be glad to. At the board's request, when we did budget hearings last year, we said we would look into the possibility of moving toward body cameras on all of our deputies. We have them in all of our vehicles. Our current vendor is L3, and they have a body camera system coming out in July. Actually, we're fixing to demo that body camera system. But in addition to that, we met with Axon, who's a vendor, very well reputable vendor across the country, as well as Pilium, and I polled sheriffs across the state and even some in some other states, and both systems are great systems. It's not a problem that we're looking at. The decision we're going to have to make is the current vendor that we use and our server is for L3. That's for our in-car cameras right now. In the event we move toward a body camera system, we have to make the determination on whether or not to maintain one server and move all of our in-car cameras and body cameras to that particular vendor, or are we going to pay two separate vendors for the service? I think the common sense thing to do would be to use one vendor to provide all of our video services and storage as opposed to two. There's ups and downs to both of those. The downs are if we change to a new vendor completely, we have to replace the car cameras and the server, as well as buying additional video or the body-worn cameras. And you're looking at a cost of around $800,000 to $1 million. If we stick with our current vendor, obviously that is a self-maintained system. We own that server. We've bought that in the past. We currently own the cameras that we have in play in our video in our cars. You're looking at around $500,000 to move to a new server and cameras for body-worn purposes. So we've got a decision to make if that's the road we decide to go down. We've also got some liability issues that we're in conversation with our attorney about, as far as policy and procedure, as far as case law, as far as storage of that those recordings, how long you have to maintain those and what have you, and also be in compliance with our ACLU consent decree. So there's some issues still there. I would like to demonstrate the body camera system that L3 is coming out with to save us some money. But certainly if you want to give me plenty of money, we'll buy all new stuff.
And say L3 is coming out in July?
July. We're going to demo the system prior to July. I would suspect around mid-April, first part of May, we're going to receive that. I'd like to demo that to save us some money and see how effective it is with our in-car system and have our own owned service. Obviously, if we go to a new service, those are web-based services, and we don't own or control where that's stored. I think Dwayne could probably get into that IT stuff a lot better than I could, but we don't own it, and other people have access to it. So those are the decisions we've got to make, but we've certainly made a lot of progress in doing that. And if y'all are patient and want to give me time to meet with L3 and demo theirs, I think we can save some money and possibly the purchase of new equipment as well. So.
Mr. President, I would ask that, if that's the route you feel comfortable going with L3, since we're currently with them now, to maybe to get some information for the board in the next 30, 45 days, written information, semi-estimate cost, and I know you threw out a half a
I
million.
can bring it to you next week. I've got all that.
Yeah.
I've got quotes from the other companies, written quotes.
Well, something that you would recommend to the board is basically, I think what we're interested in is what you're recommending to the board, and then when they come out.
That's going to take a little more time because we've got to look at the policy and procedure side of it. We can't just jump in and do that. But yeah, I'll be glad to.
I would like to see him go ahead and go down that road and get started on the policy and that kind of stuff if the majority of the board feels comfortable that the camera system is the way that we're planning on going.
Yep, and you were speaking of L3, that the company we're with now, if they've been serving you good and they're gonna be able to save us money, it definitely might be worthwhile.
And they're a state contractor.
So what now?
They're on state contract.
State contract?
Okay.
So it definitely look like it might be worth waiting on them. All at the same time, you say you were gonna demo, they were gonna have something where you can
They're going to give us someone to try.
it out.
Yeah, and I'd be glad to let you guys look at it.
I think
I'd be interested to see how it works. I've never been close to one, so
I think the key as well. I think the key as well, Supervisor Griffin, is to move forward with the policies as well, because that's going to take time.
Yeah, there's some model policies out there, and I've reached out to sheriffs and law enforcement in other portions of the country, and there's several different policies. We just need to find what fits for us the best under our current guidelines that we're under. So.
Great. I think a good.
Well, I'll be glad to do that.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right.
Okay. All right, next, old business.
I do have one that I would ask our attorney, Mr. Espy, just to give us a quick update on the on our golf cart issue that come up at the last board meeting or so.
Sure. So since the last meeting, I've been working on the issue. Representative Jill Ford met with several HOA representatives. I was not at that meeting, but she met with them. I called Jill Ford. We spoke at length about the summary of those meetings and what she wanted and how we were going to proceed in the Mississippi legislature. As a part of that meeting, she gave me a number for the person in the draft's office in Mississippi legislature. I spoke with this person, spoke with him recently. So she said something to me that I didn't know. She said that she was unaware of any county filing a golf cart ordinance in Mississippi. Most of them are cities and towns. And she asked me if I was familiar with the City of Madison ordinance, which I told her I was. I read it. Remember, I cited that to you 2 weeks ago. So she said that's what she's used to, cities and towns, not counties. So I asked her to be sure. So we spoke, and she said she was unaware of any county ever having to do this before. So I asked her to be sure, so I'm waiting for that information because I would love to see what's been passed before from a county in Mississippi. So that's one thing. But basically, the HOAs are really conscious of the age of the driver, 13, 14, and what's going to be done with them. So that's what they're really looking for. Plus, this will be a local and private bill that Representative Ford would file. So she's going to keep me updated as to timetable. So it's not that we can't do it. It's really what is it going to look like? How will a golf cart bill satisfy a subdivision with dense homes, even though the streets have been dedicated to the county, as opposed to what the same ordinance would look like in District 5? Yeah, maybe that's why no county had ever done this before. So it's not that we can't do it. I think it's going to be more general than maybe what you want, because we have to satisfy District 5 and District 2, District 1. So we got to slow it down now and do it right. If we're going to be first, we want to do it right. So that is where we are. We're not going to miss any deadlines, but it's more difficult because we're going to be first to do this.
And you may not, my question would be, it is very difficult because we're looking for the county, but can we direct it in a way that it can cover just certain subdivisions and not necessarily the other part of the counties? And that's something that I know the sheriff's going to get into, and the homeowner association and the board of supervisors. But this thinking, and you don't have to answer that question because that's just something that's thrown out at this point,
Well, in cities, when the city adopts it, do they do it just for certain subdivisions in the city? I don't think so. I think it's a city ordinance. That's an equal protection. Why would you allow, inside of a city, why would you allow golf carts in one HOA and not in another? It's going to be the same thing in the county. I think it's got to be county-wide if we're going to do it.
I think it's the same thing as this animal control policy
Yeah.
that we tried to come up with. It's very difficult.
Yes.
And that's the only reason I'm throwing it out is because to do this and do it right, we're going to have to think out of the box.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's done properly, and I'm just really thinking out of the box. Not saying it's right or wrong, but
Well,
I mean,
yes.
Being 16 to operate a golf cart, I would think countywide would be okay.
well, but I think there's other issues along the way. Yeah, 16 is probably fine. You're right. Windshield's probably fine, I suppose, but.
Yeah.
When you sit down with board members and we sit down with homeowner associations and the sheriff's department, you're going to come up with a lot of things that people are going to agree and disagree on.
16 is probably good. 16 is the lower limit. But in District 5, what does that look like?
The question is, do homeowner association have the authority to make their own rules and regulations and hold their homeowners responsible for their kid or their grandkid?
If the roads in an HOA are private roads, then they do. But if they are county roads, usually when the developer finishes these subdivisions, they dedicate those roads to the county. We go in and we'll look to see if the roads are up to our standards. If they are, we'll adopt it as a county road, and then they become county roads. Some subdivisions have PIDs, like Reunion is a PID. I don't think that's not a county road. So whatever happens in Reunion is a PID. It's up to the PID board to decide and what it's going to look like. Now, none of the ordinances can be in conflict with state law. So the sheriff can always go in and enforce state law. But that's not a county road. It's a PID road. So if it's a PID road or a private road, our ordinances won't cover it. But if it's a public road dedicated to the county by dedication or prescription, then it's our road. So it just depends.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. And I just want to say this again. I hadn't heard from any subdivision that's in my district on for this ordinance. if they listening, I need a couple emails or texts on what they thinking. Because I don't live in a subdivision, but I do have 2 grandboys. And yeah, I'm going to put them on golf course, I'm going to put them on 4-wheeler before they get to the age of 16.
Deerfield yours?
Yes.
I'm one of them.
I know one of them, another one sitting in here too. And I hadn't heard from that one. So I need to hear from those subdivision homeowners association.
Okay.
So the process is to slow down a little bit. I want to know if we are the first county in Mississippi to do this. I'll know this today. If we are not, then it's easy to look at what else has been passed and modify it to that and then bring that before you. If we're the first, then we have to move more cautiously to accommodate District 5, because I told Representative Ford, in my experience, lobbying with the state and federal law, they would be reticent to pass anything unless it was a 5-0 vote out of supervisors. If it's a conflicted vote, they want to know why, and it's going to move slower when you get there. So whatever we do, we would hope that we would do with the unanimous vote of all of you, and then give it to you, give it to Jim Ford, and then that's something that would pass.
I know you said the word slow down. I don't mind slowing down, but we don't want to stop because this is not going to go away.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we'll be the first.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That's good. We got new business. There you go.
Tim, the engineer.
I just wanted to come back and answer Supervisor Griffin's question about the Simpson Road Bridge.
Yeah.
This is the one that's right there at 17.
Okay.
And it's,
That'll need some work.
while we're doing that, the new bridge is going to be a new alignment. So the old bridge will remain open while the new bridge is being constructed. So we won't have a long closure like we had on some of ours.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. I'm trying to think of this here bridge, this road, which I need you all to check. It runs off 17, and I think it might be Burial Road. It got one, Will, what's the name of that road? It got that old bridge on it, in good shape, but it's a single lane bridge.
Coming off 17?
Yeah, coming off 17. Old Highway 51.
Old Highway 51.
Oh,
Highway
right there.
51.
Right. Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
See what we can look at and on that bridge. It's solid as concrete because that's what it made out of. But it's
Right.
a single lane
Right.
bridge.
I know what you're talking about. I think that's a historical bridge, and I'm not sure we ever got definitive.
But just add a lane to it then.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we can do. We may have to come off and do what we're doing on Simpson and build adjacent to it.
A real line.
We looked at, it's also a short bridge. I don't think it even meets the criteria of being a bridge. So it's, whoops, losing everything here. It's a little shorter than a regular bridge. They don't classify it as a bridge is what I'm remembering. So, but there's nothing wrong with coming in paralleling it with another lane and getting an additional bridge there.
Okay.
We've looked at that in the past for you.
Can we get y'all to look at that thing?
It's almost
See
a
what
box
you can do
culvert.
on it?
Yes, sir. The other thing good about the Simpson Road Bridge, in addition to what Tim said, was we'll also be able to correct that angle a little bit where it ties into Highway 17, make it a safer intersection. So I think you'll like it.
Good.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right then.
Happy New Year.
All right, John.
Thank you.
Supervisor
Good to see you
Steen.
back, John.
Supervisor Gerald Steen. You wanted to add that?
We've already added it.
Oh.
We've already. Thank you, though.
Found out that
Yes.
it's been added.
We're good to go.
Okay. Next.
Mr. President, Supervisors, the only thing I have is this is the first day of the new year, and it's also the first work day after the federal coronavirus act expired. You may remember that back April 1, federal law required us to provide up to 80 hours of paid leave and not charge their accrued sick leave to anyone who was diagnosed with the coronavirus or a couple of other conditions. That protection or that federal benefit expired December 31. and we just want to make you aware that that expired. Anything else that needs to be said?
Well, it expired and has not been renewed to give employees up to 8 hours of leave. But it was mandatory that you do this. Now it's expired. But you could do it voluntarily if you want to, I guess. When I say I guess, if you did it, would it be in contravention of state law? Because there's no state law in place to require you to do this, so is that a donation? So I'd say, plus there's no reimbursement. You've never been reimbursed for what you've done already. And I think the thing I've seen is about $200,000 out of the state budget for leave under the mandatory federal COVID-19. So we've already spent a couple $100,000 for this, and it's no longer mandated, and there's no state law in place. So I'd say move on ahead and not do anything,
That's what I say.
knowing that if you got an employee where someone last year was compensated, they want to know why they're not being compensated. And the answer is that it was mandated before, and now it expired.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Two comments. If we just gonna move on, do nothing, Shelter, can you send out an email to all department or employees saying that they will not be compensated? And the next question would be, is some of the asymptomatic people that don't have sick leave or personal leave, where do they put us? Or them coming to work and exposing more employees? Just some thought for the mind.
But if they're asymptomatic, we wouldn't know it, you know? They're the super spreaders.
Well,
We
I'm
wouldn't know
talking about if their wife got it and they live
Oh, I
in
see.
the house.
If it's in the
with it,
family. Okay, I get it.
and then that employee come to work,
I get it.
that's the point I'm making.
We can work on some type of statement to go out. In the situation that you've described, we do have people that have used the 80 hours of federal mandated leave and have found themselves in the situation that you described, and they have also used their personal leave after the fact. So in an event that would occur from this point forward, they just wouldn't have the 80 hours federal, but we would have the same, unless you tell us different, we would have the same approach that if you've tested positive or someone in your immediate household has tested positive, you're out until a doctor releases you to come back, and it would be their accrued medical leave that they would be using. But we do have people that exhausted the 80 hours and used their personal leave in the past several months.
Okay.
But we'll get an email out.
Yeah, and I'll talk to you some more in depth after the meeting, Shelter.
Okay. All right. Is that everything? Next meeting will be on the 19th? 5?
Tuesday because of a state holiday on that Monday.
Right. Okay. And give a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Let's leave. We adjourn.
All right.
All right.
On that camera. Find your life away.